Now we'll move to the Victorian Parliament, where today Liberal leader Brad Battin was suspended after he pursued the Premier over her state's broken bail laws and what she was doing or not doing, as the case might be, to help victims of crime.
Leader of the Opposition, you will have to leave the chamber for an hour. I will not tolerate this kind of disrespect to the chair. The attorney to continue. Order! Make that an hour and a half.
And you want to silence the opposition?
Leader of the Opposition.
These people are letting him out continuously, and you want to go down that path.
Leader of the Opposition is named.
I'm pleased to say the Leader of the Opposition, Brad Battin, joins me now. Well, I could see you were booted from question time today, Brad Battin, but you're clearly still at the Parliament. You're still working. The Premier turned up today and made comments for the first time since a horror weekend of young boys killed by machete attacks. She made some comments this morning. It was the first time she had dealt with these comments. Let's have a listen to what she had to say.
Been working with Victoria Police for some time now to strengthen Victoria Police powers, to strengthen, to toughen laws, to, for example, give Victoria Police stronger knife search powers, bringing about the machete ban, which is making an impact.
Brad Battin, these kids were hacked to death. Like, the machete ban didn't save them, the $1 million bins didn't save them. Victorians are furious. And she can't front the cameras. She turned up today because of the Aboriginal treaty legislation. Where is the leadership from Victoria? And if you're not in the Parliament at the moment, I mean, how on earth, you tried to hold them to account, how do Victorians hold them to account?
Yeah, thanks, Peter, and good evening. If the Premier has no answers for the crime crisis, she should just admit that. The reality in Parliament is we're continuously asking questions on behalf of the victims. You've described some of them perfect there. These are kids who are being killed on the street. 25 young men under the age of 25 years old have been killed in the last 5 years in Victoria because of the knife crime here in our state. When the Premier comes out and says publicly, I'm working with the police for new powers, they have been desperate for these new powers for a long time, and the Allan Labor government have refused to work with them. The former Chief Commissioner ended up being kicked out, and the current Chief Commissioner is speaking out. We need to make sure that we are listening to them because they're the ones that are seeing the victims every day. We have solutions. We know we can fix this. It's about time the Allan Labor government start to listen to the facts and stop putting their head in the sand because the victims are piling up here in this state and it's simply not good enough.
I listened to a press conference today, Brad, and she said that police have never had more resources than they have now. They've never had more laws than they have now. So is she blaming the police here?
Yeah, this is a problem when the Premier starts to believe her own press releases rather than actually seeing what's happening on the street. To say that they have the resources that they need when there's over 1,100 vacancies across Victoria, 43 police stations are closed or reduced hours. Just last week, I went out to Mernda. I went to the police station to do a video with one of those machete bins you spoke about because of the ridiculous cost of those bins. Mernda is a 24-hour police station, supposed to be open for the community 24 hours a day. Doors locked, closed sign on the window. People in the community, particularly out in those areas like Doreen where they saw the carjacking the other day, 2 kids were in that car when that car was stolen. I can't even imagine how it would feel as a mother or father watching your car drive away knowing your kids are in there. How can the Premier not be seeing the same things we're seeing? We're all seeing it on media. We're seeing it on social media. I'm not sure where the Premier's looking, and the fear is here. Exactly as I said at the start, she's believing her own media releases.
OK, so you mentioned the police are breaking ranks. They are. We saw that over the weekend, and we've seen other comments from the new Chief Commissioner. They are speaking out, and the police rarely do that. They are demanding that the judiciary, the magistrates in particular, do more, that we don't have this revolving door of bail. OK, say you're the Premier on day one, what can you do that'll fix the crisis?
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, Peter, if it was day one and I was a Premier tomorrow, the first thing I'd do is I'd ring up Detective Inspector Banks and say to him, how can we work with you to make sure the laws are tougher? Because obviously he knows what he's talking about. And the Chief Commissioner has backed him in and said that is what Victoria Police are saying. That's what my former colleagues are saying to me each and every day. The first thing we do is introduce break bail, face jail, because we know many of these crimes are being committed by people who are on bail under the weakened bail system of the Allan Labor government. The second thing we do is we ensure we get those resources in to give the police the powers they need and the staffing they need. Backfill those 1,100 vacancies as soon as possible. And most importantly, Peter, we need to make sure that we've got the serious consequences for the serious crimes that are happening on the streets in Victoria. That's what the police are calling for. That's what we deliver so people can be safe in the community.
Okay, just quickly, because I know you have to go. I've talked at the top of the show about the treaty legislation and the Victorian voice legislation arriving in the Parliament and the many hundreds of millions of dollars that will be spent every single year for this Indigenous body, let alone compensation that may come down the track. They tell me that you are opposing it, but will you repeal it if you form government?
Yeah, we are definitely opposing this legislation, and Peter, I know that your listeners are well and truly aware of that, and we'll be working through. There's got to be an alternative to close the gap here in Victoria without a treaty and without a voice that the Victorians didn't commit to or didn't have put to them for a mandate at the election. But we do need to focus on the fact there is serious issues when it comes to health, when it comes to the conditions for many young Aboriginal kids who end up in government care or those that end up in the justice system or committing suicide. Our government will ensure that we can deliver the services to close the gap. That will be our absolute priority. But no, Peter, we will not be supporting the treaty here in Victorian Parliament.
Okay, but that's not the question. I'm asking you whether you will repeal it. If you're not going to repeal it, tell me that. If you're only thinking about whether you're repealing it, let me know that as well. But give me an answer on the question of whether you would repeal it if it passes the Parliament.
Yeah. As I said, Peter, and I only can say we will have an alternative in there. That is the best way to describe. We'll have an alternative that says what can we do to ensure we're delivering the outcomes for Aboriginal people here in Victoria, because that'd be the priority. This government's been in for 10 years and haven't done it. So to have the alternative, my instinct would be that it wouldn't be there in the future.
Right, I like that instinct. Let's make that reality. I'll leave it there, Brad Battin. Thank you.